If you suffer from progressive hearing loss, ear ringing, or if you find it harder and harder to understand words during a conversation, then you need to know about what Harvard scientists call the ultimate brain experiment. Because 70-year-old patients that were completely dependent on their hearing aids for over 7 years got out of it with their hearing better than ever. Just by playing an odd game that had nothing to do with their ears or medication, that's when scientists discovered a secret part of the brain that proved to be withered in the case of people dealing with hearing impairments, and how we can actually revive and regrow it, just like the people in the experiments did. In fact, you can easily do the same thing today from the comfort of your own home. You do not need to be a scientist nor a doctor. All you need is a comfy chair or a couch and a glass of water. This completely natural and inexpensive method that can help make it possible for you to hear everything at full volume again, no matter your age or medical condition. Not only that it will permanently improve your hearing, while also protecting you from ear ringing, brain fog, and memory loss, helping you regenerate your brain cells and stay mentally sharp. Because as terrifying as it may sound, hearing loss can mess up and even fry your brain networks, stealing your mental health and peace of mind. So, it's extremely important that you give this method a chance right now, especially because it is as simple as it gets. Listen, despite what you've been led to believe, the root cause of hearing loss has nothing to do with your age or how damaged your ears are. Instead, as groundbreaking experiments have proved it, the root cause of hearing loss has everything to do with something deeply peculiar and dangerous that's happening inside your brain cells at this very moment. A hint: you don't actually hear with your ears. Once you discover what it is, not only will you have the power to fix the volume button hidden in your brain, but you'll also be able to keep other hearing impairments at bay, like tinnitus or ear infections. In the next 5 minutes, you'll find out why more and more Americans suffer from hearing loss, even though there's nothing physically wrong with their ears. How your untreated hearing loss may, in fact, be responsible for literally erasing your memories and damaging your mental health. How Chicago scientists uncovered a whole new part of the brain that changes everything the medical community knows about restoring your hearing. How coming across a classified banned document from a medical lab helped me uncover one of the biggest scams in Big Pharma's history. And the clinically proven simple 10-second science-backed hack that you can use starting today to enjoy every sound at maximum volume again, along with all the papers, tests, and experiments from the universities like Harvard and the Chicago College of Medicine that prove how it works. This solution is so incredibly powerful that it has been clinically demonstrated to work regardless of your age, medical history, or the severity of your hearing problems. And without you having to spend a single red cent on aids, harmful chemical-filled medications, painful ear flushing, or risky surgeries. But it's absolutely crucial you stick with me until the very end of my story while you still have the chance, because I don't know how much longer I'll be able to keep this presentation online. The hearing aids industry alone is worth $8 billion in the US. These people are perfectly happy to shatter your physical and mental health, trying to make you think their crazy devices are the only way, especially when doing so makes them obscenely rich. It's only logical they're scared that my dirt cheap method will put them out of business overnight. They don't want you to hear loud and clear what they're up to. They need to keep you a customer for life. So please, stay on this page, because this information could save your life or the life of your loved one. You're one step away from feeling like a normal person again. Just imagine never feeling frustrated and disconnected because you can't hear your loved ones over the telephone, or being completely dependent on annoying, overpriced hearing aids that constantly seem to break. No longer having to figure out what your colleagues are saying, or feel stupid for asking what all the time. Never having to pretend you're focused and serene when you're actually struggling to read your boss's lips, fearing you're going to get fired for making an unintended mistake. Instead, you'll secure your job and regain your social life, finally being able to go out with your friends and family and carry on long, enjoyable conversations. You'll say goodbye to isolation and hello to your favorite music and hobbies, fully relaxing at your beloved movies, TV shows, or matches. Moreover, you will enjoy a sharp mind and a razor focus, feeling more energetic than you've ever been in years. Just like over 201,500 people already did. People like Brian T., 67, from Des Moines, Iowa, who says,
"Honestly, I still can't believe how well this works. I can hear everything loud and clear. It's just amazing."
Natasha Clark, 58, from San Antonio, Texas, who told us,
"I am so happy I decided to try this out. It completely changed my life for the better. I used it for my hearing loss, but it worked for my ear ringing too. If only I knew about it sooner."
Or Ted Danes, 71, from Lincoln, Nebraska, who said,
"This method did wonders for me. I can't believe at my age I hear like a bat."
I know how amazing all these sound, especially if you've been suffering in silence, thinking there's no escape whatsoever. Okay, let's not waste any more time. It's time you broke free from the hearing loss prison. My name is Sam Olson. I'm 65 years old, and I live in a small town near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, together with my dear wife, Daisy. I want you to know, right from the beginning, that I'm not a doctor nor a hearing aid specialist. I recently retired after a 40-year career as a medicinal chemist. It's a crucial job, as people who are sick rely on us for relief. Medicinal chemists work in teams with scientists to research and develop compounds that can be used as pharmaceutical treatments. Our greatest accomplishments are creating new formulas that can actually treat illnesses. If we also succeed in finding a way to make the manufacturing process less expensive, and thus treatments more accessible, then we consider we did a really good job. Back in the days when big pharma fat cats weren't so desperate to stuff their greedy pockets, I've witnessed a few medical breakthroughs and seen life-changing treatments take birth. From supplements that improve brain function, focus, and energy, to ear infection treatments and circulation remedies. Of course, none of them compares to the hearing loss remedy I'm about to reveal to you. It all started 3 years ago, when my wife, Daisy, began losing her hearing. First, it was her left ear. Then her right ear followed. Daisy had been a music teacher pretty much all her life, and her greatest joy was directing musicals at the local elementary school. Being surrounded by kids, singing along with them, seeing the pride in their parents' eyes made her feel important. You can imagine how devastated she was when she realized that the easiest, most natural thing in the world for her now became the hardest. Rehearsing a song got tougher than climbing a mountain. She couldn't make out what they were singing, had to ask, please, repeat, all the time, until her pupils were basically screaming. It was the same at home. Then one day, she refused to go to school. And for the first time in the 37 years since I've known her, she didn't turn on the radio in the morning. Nor did she sway around on her favorite piano songs while making breakfast. She just sat in the garden, staring blankly at trees. There was something else that worried me even more. Her memory was clearly slipping. One time she barely remembered who Beethoven was, for God's sake. Plus, she was always dizzy and tired. I was terrified for her. Of course, we'd gone to the doctor, the best one, waited 2 whole months to see him. It took him 10 minutes to examine her and prescribe her hearing aids. Clunky, ugly pieces of wannabe skin color machinery shoved into both her ears, worth no less than $4,000. All I wanted to know was why. Why was this alienating disease happening to her? Because here's the weird thing. After the consultation, the doctor told us that nothing was physically wrong with her ears. Sometimes these things just happen, especially with age, he said, raising his shoulders. And that was that. I know he did his best to console my wife, but even so, I hated him for not even trying to think beyond his medical books and protocols. Even though she could hear better, Daisy never got used to the hearing aids. Her ears were sore, she felt really old, and was embarrassed to be seen by our friends. Finally, she decided to retire and refused any invitation to dinner parties or bridge nights. In the meantime, I spent our holiday money and then money we didn't have on advanced high-tech hearing aids. $6,000 each. Pills, herbal drops, acupuncture sessions, and whatnot. I tried everything to make Daisy feel better. Amplified phones and TV listening devices. No use. But the worst was yet to come. Once in a while, Daisy and I used to babysit our 5-year-old granddaughter, Alice. She's our little ray of sunshine, and we often joke with our daughter, Sarah, that we might just love the kid more than we love her. One Thursday, our granddaughter asked us for ice cream, and since I was busy mowing the front lawn, Daisy decided to go to the market a few streets away. 1 minute later, she was lying unconscious on the pavement, a thin thread of blood running from her forehead. She never heard or saw the monster truck coming. Since she had a terrible rash, Daisy had removed her hearing aids that day. I could have screamed for hours, and our granddaughter could have cried for days. She was almost deaf. Luckily for us, the driver had decided on the spur of the moment to take an abrupt left turn, passing right beside her before crashing into a big tree a few seconds later. Long, horrendous minutes passed until the ambulance came. I can only imagine what Daisy felt. Barely conscious, not able to understand what was happening to her. After examining her, the doctor told us she had a concussion. Also, she needed a few stitches, but overall, there was a good chance she would make a full recovery soon. On the other hand, the driver of the monster truck was in a coma. His wife and his 2 small boys were devastated. The doctors could not predict when, if ever, he would wake up. It was a nightmare. Our little Alice was in shock. She kept shivering and couldn't speak. She didn't talk at all for 2 months after the accident. "Dad, how could you leave Mom alone on the street? She's not right. Are you blind?" My daughter was furious at me. I was furious at myself. I wondered if my wife would ever be the same again. If the driver will survive. All I could do was pray for a miracle that will make everything all right again. When Daisy finally woke up from all the sedatives, she started crying her heart out, convinced everything was her fault. "Maybe you should put me in a home," my wife murmured, bitter tears running down her cheeks. Her words tore my soul apart. "I'm no use to anyone. It's getting harder and harder for me to get around." "Never. We're gonna get through this," I told her, and I meant it. That night, I stood by her bed, looking at her while she slept, dreading the thought she could have been dead if the driver hadn't taken that abrupt turn, worrying what might happen if she could never get back on her feet, her mental health getting worse, her hearing deteriorating while she became a shadow of herself. I had to do something. I sure wasn't going to stand back and watch how our family was falling apart. So, first thing in the morning, I got in front of the computer and started digging. I was determined to find a solution that didn't require any device or surgery because I knew for sure they drained the life out of you, hurting your ears with no guarantee that you won't go completely deaf eventually. There was one question in particular that kept haunting me. Why are there people with perfectly good ears that don't hear well? Because even though doctors have a tendency to blame the ears for bad hearing, there are a lot of people who, just like my wife, suffer from hearing loss even though nothing is physically wrong with them. So, I went on analyzing hundreds of articles and studies, searching for the real root cause of hearing loss. I'll spare you all the boring details and cut directly to the most interesting parts, the ones that can bring your hearing back starting today. Let's imagine you hear your favorite song on the radio. Here's what is supposed to happen for you to hear every lyric and sound perfectly. Sound waves from the radio reach the outer ear and travel to the middle ear. The middle ear passes these vibrations to the inner ear. Inside the inner ear, there are 20,000 to 30,000 tiny hair cells that act like radio towers. They pick up the sound and send it up to the brain to be decoded. After the brain cells decode the electrical signals sent by the brain cells, you can fully understand what you are hearing. Many scientists believe that hearing loss happens when these little hair cells start dying. If there aren't enough radio towers to pick up the signals, then it never gets to the brain. What scientists hadn't figured out was why these sound-grabbing hair cells die in the first place. Sadly, that's where the medical community shrugs its shoulders, officially agreeing on this dead-end theory and leaving things unresolved for decades. But I wasn't going to accept their dead end. So I kept looking until I found a brain experiment that suggested ears have very little to do with hearing. I know this sounds crazy, but you need to know about this. This brain experiment was run by Harvard University and proved that brain training games improve hearing. The scientists chose 70-year-old patients who had been dependent on their hearing aids for over 7 years. Researchers asked 24 elderly adults who used hearing aids to spend 3 times a week playing brain training games. They had to recognize sounds and use them later in solving puzzles. Or they had to memorize some words and use them later in conversations. At the end of this study, participants correctly showed a 25% improvement when it came to understanding conversations. After reading everything about this experiment, I became obsessed about the connection between the brain and hearing loss. Even with Daisy, I knew that before dealing with almost profound hearing loss, she could hear sounds. The problem was that she couldn't tell what she was hearing. It was like her ears were picking up a strange foreign language that the brain could not understand and decode. So, I began to wonder, was there a problem with her ears, or was there something going on inside her brain? That's when I came across a very little-known breakthrough from 2018. This time, another group of Swedish researchers from the Karolinska Institute dared to look even deeper into the brain. Their one-of-a-kind study revealed a new type of brain cells that were clearly responsible for decoding the sound. They thought the ear's task is to convert sound energy into brain signals through the tiny hair cells. The brain's task is to receive and process the information those signals contain. So, the brain tells people what they hear, not the ears. So how about when it comes to hearing loss, we look into the brain and not into the ears this time around? The result? They've uncovered these previously unknown brain cells, whose job was, without a shadow of a doubt, to receive the noises from the tiny hair cells and turn them into sounds and voices that we understand. You can call them the translators. Now, what happens when those translators are weak or die? The connection between the ears and the brain crashes. Without them, the brain receives the sounds but can't do much with them because it cannot understand them. And after a while, if it keeps hearing meaningless sounds, it will eventually not see the point in trying to process this noise altogether. What will happen next? It will choose to ignore it more and more and not perceive it. This will in turn aggravate hearing loss to the point of turning you deaf. Even worse, it will lead to brain fog because the brain cells will be so confused trying to understand the sounds that your mind will feel stuck. Or it will lead to tinnitus because in order to unblock the mind, the brain will decide to turn the noise into automatic sound patterns like clicking, whooshing, or a high pitch. Sort of like switching on autopilot, only with very unpleasant implications. Ultimately, because everything is interconnected, the miscommunication between the hearing brain cells leads to chain reaction causing confusion inside all the brain networks, frying them, and leading to memory loss disorders. All in all, after going through all the studies, it was clear as daylight to me. We don't hear with our ears. We hear with our brain cells. We perceive the sounds with our ears, but we hear with our brains. I could finally understand why people with perfectly healthy ears are unable to make out conversations. They cannot turn signals into words. Think about it. A lot of people dealing with deafness, from mild to severe, can hear sounds. They can hear that people are talking, but they cannot make out what they are saying. So, if they can still hear the sounds, maybe. Our hair cells don't really die. Instead, they have lost the connection to the brain. If you're wondering if your hearing is caused by the lost connection between your hair cells and your brain cells, you can find the answer right now. All you have to do is answer this simple question. Do you find it harder to distinguish words when there are other sounds and noises around you? If the answer is yes, then your brain cells are getting weaker and weaker by the day, unable to see the difference between one sound and another. Now, I wondered if the translating brain cells are the ones responsible for extracting meaning from the sounds. Shouldn't all treatments focus on how the brain and ears work and communicate together? The next day, I went to the only people I thought could help me, my ex-colleagues from the lab. I ran full of hope, holding a file full of medical papers and plans close to my chest, my heart racing with excitement. I was convinced the lab would help me develop a new med that would save thousands of lives. All my ex-team, medical chemists, scientists, and engineers, were stunned with my research and eager to work day and night on my project. But our party was cut short by Mr. E, the lab director, who called me into his office. I began telling him all about my idea. We needed to address and strengthen both brain cells and hair cells, therefore activating the sender and receiver of the sounds at the same time for a clear connection and hearing. But it was like talking to a wall. He told me that if what I was saying was possible, surely big pharmaceutical companies and their experts, way more experienced than I, would have done it already. Listen, why don't you just enjoy retirement? Go fish, whatever, just relax. And with those last condescending suggestions, Mr. E showed me the door. Back to work, all of you, he told the others, and no one dared to even look in my direction. I was mad. How dare he? Why would someone say no to the remedy of hearing loss? Something clearly was not right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But there must be a higher power up there, because a few days later, I received a phone call that made everything fall into place, because at the other end of the line was one of the most respected brain experts and an amazing medical chemist. Since protecting his identity is vital, and you're about to see why in a few seconds, we'll call him Dr. J. Frankly, even at my age and with my experience, I was a little intimidated by Dr. J. Not only because his IQ was 157, which is just 3 points below Einstein's, but because being one of my ex-colleagues, I knew he was the mastermind between some of the best medicine on the market. Medicine that helps with memory loss, balance problems, or depression. No wonder my jaw dropped the second he told me, "I just retired a couple of days ago. Let's meet and celebrate." Also, there's something I need you to know. Something that might fix your problem. The very next day, we had lunch at a small restaurant in New Hope. As Dr. J was a man of few words, he got right to the point. "Sam, the first thing you got to understand is that when it comes to big pharma and their medical labs, targeting symptoms always gets them more money than treating the root cause. Me going and showing them my precious research never worked where their blood money ruled. Even though my intentions were admirable, at one point I stopped being so naive. Now, I am finally retired and have enough money to do things on my own terms." He went on telling me that the hearing loss industry controlled by Big Pharma was expected to reach $13.54 billion by 2026. A lot of money was coming their way. Not to mention that, the way he saw it, my discovery would not only address the root cause of hearing loss, but could also have an amazing effect on other hearing impairments, like tinnitus, or brain problems, like confusion, or memory loss. Why would they want one simple, powerful remedy on the market that does what a sack of pharmaceutical products and hearing devices can't. Suddenly, I understood why they're always announcing remedies for hearing loss or breakthroughs, but never actually launching them. Why funds ran out without any explanation just when my medical team and I were close to something big. Why nobody dared to move a finger when the lab director ushered me out, even though I had just presented them with hard science and unquestionable studies. They would have never allowed me or anyone else to come even close to treating a serious disease. Just when I thought I heard enough, Dr. J had one more secret to tell me, a secret that could put him in jail. Treating innocent folks with chemical-filled meds was what kept their lab business going, and they had no intention in looking for better or cheaper solutions. The same rule that applied to the breakthroughs that addressed the root cause also applied to the newly discovered ingredients. Whenever someone came with a natural ingredient that proved to work for a serious disorder, they just banned it from further testing, claiming it's dangerous or homeopathic nonsense. So, Dr. J did something really risky. Each time an ingredient was banned from the lab, he knew that was the precise one that could actually make a difference. So, instead of deleting everything like he was ordered to do, he saved all the papers and experiments and spent long nights continuing the frowned-upon work of other honest medical researchers. He analyzed rare herbs, common plants, and powerful roots, dumbfounded by how their properties crushed the most acclaimed drugs during every test. Now, my ex-colleague was sick and tired of all the phony lab directors and fat cats. Since he had gone through all the wonder plants and no longer needed their expensive medical equipment at the lab, and since he believed all my data was spot on, he was ready to help me steal the list of banned ingredients for hearing loss and combine the best ones into the perfect combo that would instantly and flawlessly connect ear and brain cells. All of these extremely potent plants are side effect free and backed by dozens of solid studies that Big Pharma would rather see burned to ashes. Out of a list of 117, we selected 5 that have demonstrated repeatedly to regenerate and connect both hair cells and brain cells. By now, you must be very curious to find out what these ingredients are. So let's get right to it. First ingredient, ginkgo biloba. Leaves coming from old female trees. You've probably heard of ginkgo biloba before. The scientific community has been obsessing over this hearing loss and tinnitus remedy, analyzing everything about it, while supplement manufacturers are trying to sell it to you in all forms and sizes. It's also the most studied herb in the world, with over 400 clinical studies on its safety and efficacy for many conditions. All for good reason. Trees can achieve near immortality and live 3,000 years. Their DNA is fascinating, but there's one big catch. Not all ginkgo biloba trees are the same. Actually, ginkgos have been called a sexual curiosity. While some plants possess both male and female reproductive parts simultaneously, ginkgo do not. Individuals are either male or female. The female trees are actually famous for their stinky seeds, but few know that the golden fan-shaped healing leaves that are making researchers' jaws hit the floor belong only to old female trees. There's a reason ancient medicine practitioners named it the maidenhair tree. They were looking for the feminine ginkgos. Finding a female tree is not easy. First of all, it often takes about 20 years before the tree reaches maturity and displays distinct sexual characteristics. So, you have to wait 2 decades before you know which one is which. Even then, ginkgo biloba can do something no other tree in the world does. They can change their sex through their long lifetime and turn from female to male. So, you need a really good biologist to recognize one. Last but not least, the older a female tree is, the more potent her regenerative properties are. It's only logical that nothing so good comes easy. The nutrients inside ginkgo biloba leaves work directly on your brain cells. A 2019 study published in the Brazilian Journal of Otorhinolaryngology, ear, nose, and throat, compares ginkgo biloba with hearing aids for the treatment of hearing loss and tinnitus. The 33 participants were separated in two groups: short-term hearing loss and tinnitus problems, and long-term. Amazingly enough, after 3 months of taking ginkgo, results for short-term hearing loss and tinnitus were 54.3% improvement, and for longer-term results were 74.5% improvement. Basically, the ones who benefited most from the ginkgo treatment were the ones who suffered from a greater degree of hearing loss. The scientists' explanation: their brain cells were more damaged, which meant ginkgo had more to repair. Another study done on 72 subjects suffered from sudden deafness and acute hearing loss proved that ginkgo supplements are as effective or even more effective than common drug treatments. All men and women saw a substantial restoration of their hearing in just 10 days. Moreover, multiple Asian experiments showed that, besides helping brain cells grow and regenerate, ginkgo also protects your DNA, neurons, and hair cells against further damage, strengthens the connection between your ears and your brain so the signals always make it to their destination, stops memory loss and brain fog in its tracks. Unless you're lucky enough that this plant is growing in your backyard right now, frantic popularity has it overvalued and in short supply. Unfortunately, the leaves from the female ginkgo plant are in very short supply. Knowing it threatens their artificial pills, Big Pharma is buying up all the supplies of this plant, especially leaves coming from old female specimens, and pretending it's for research purposes. Because they buy so much and at such high prices, it's creating an artificial shortage. There's only a few farms that nurture these wonder trees under proper conditions and allow them to grow old. And they're getting rich right now from the pharma companies buying up all their crops. Between high demand and the fact that so few know the difference between female and male trees, it's almost impossible to find healing ginkgo biloba. You might find it in bottles in a health food store, but those supplies aren't pure, or coming only from female trees, or they skimp on quality and quantity to make up for their investment. But don't worry, we'll show you how you can get it for less than pennies on the dollar. Let's get to the second ingredient, St. John's wort. Flower heads, considered to be the Prozac from the plant kingdom. St. John's wort is used for ear infections and widely believed to reduce the degeneration of brain cells and boost their power. St. John's wort contains a plant chemical called hypericin, which scientists believe has a powerful effect on the brain. A 2004 Italian study reported that hypericin can increase the levels of the brain chemicals serotonin and dopamine, which, besides providing relief from depression, have a very important job, sending any signal from any part of your body, including ears and hair cells, to your brain. Third ingredient, Bacopa monnieri leaves. Bacopa monnieri, or the herb of grace, has been used in Ayurvedic medicine, one of the world's oldest healing systems, for over 2,000 years. Bacopa can restore normal physiological functioning of the ear and upgrade brain cells' communication, while boosting signaling. Supplementing Bacopa monnieri has been shown to improve processing speed of the brain cells, the attention, and the memory formation. Fourth ingredient, vimpacetine seeds. Vimpacetine is known to protect the hearing function, clear middle ear infections, and improve the reaction of cells to audio signals. Here's why. Vimpacetine travels fast through the body and helps the brain cells consume more glucose, glucose being a vital source of energy. Then, it increases the levels of oxygenation of the brain cells and ear hair cells, protecting them against death and degeneration, and allowing them to thrive again. Vimpacetine opens up blood vessels and improves blood flow, which irrigates and feeds both the hair cells and the brain cells. The fifth ingredient is huperzine A, aerial plant. A 2019 study shows that huperzine A can prevent hearing loss by repairing the physical damage of cochlear tissue, the part of the inner ear that's vital for your hearing, as it contains hair cells. Also, huperzine A is an important blocker of ACHE, an enzyme that causes the rapid degradation of brain translators. After mixing the 5 superplants, for the final touch, we added 3 natural superstar substances to regenerate and supercharge brain cells for an indestructible brain-ear connection. Phosphatidylserine covers and protects every brain cell and hair cell and has been proven to be crucial for transmitting the messages between them. N-acetyl L-carnitine, or ALC, delivers powerful nutrients directly to the brain cells, clears the signal pathways of any harmful toxins, and prevents age-associated cognitive decline. L-glutamine is an essential brain transmitter that increases focus and concentration, thus helping you make out sounds faster and better. Once we were done, we couldn't believe our eyes. The formula was a work of art, but our enthusiasm was curbed by a new problem. If we were to produce it ourselves, we had to spend days trying to source the purest ingredients from all over the world and thousands of dollars to buy them. Then, weeks to process the leaves and plants. We had to dry them out, grind them down, and adjust the ratios. The result, we would have enough of the mixture to last for a week or so. We needed a plan B. We thought that if we bought the ingredients in bulk and contacted a large, modern, yet discreet manufacturing facility in the USA that could take care of everything, we could produce this potent mixture in the quantity we wanted and in tiny, easy-to-swallow capsules. That's when we started our chase for manufacturing facilities. We had one non-negotiable request. The ingredients needed to be the real thing. Pure, sourced from local growers that let plants naturally reach their full maturity and use no herbicides, 100% effective. Prepared the right way and in the right amount in order to keep their properties intact. Safe. Processed under strict, sterile standards with regularly disinfected equipment. You wouldn't believe how many counterfeits are on the market. I remember I jumped for joy when I found a facility that was both FDA registered and GMP certified, that had a high-level disinfection policy to keep any germs or viruses at bay, yes, including corona. Since the proprietary blend is 100% natural, I didn't have to wait for approval to make our first batch. All I needed was one more willing patient to test it. And our first patient was Daisy. All she had to do was take 1 vegetable capsule every day with a big glass of water. She was rather skeptical and, at this point, really tired of my scientific adventures. And who could blame her? Her head still hurt from the accident, so she was certainly not in a great mood. But since she knew I invested every penny I had to produce the first batch of plant-filled capsules, she agreed to at least try it out. The first few days, nothing happened. She wasn't seeing anything special. She sighed and asked me whether I was going to help her search for a decent nursing home. After more than a week, I had to beg her to continue. I showed her over and over again all my discoveries, asking her to take one more leap of faith. Then, one morning, there was a glimpse of hope. I asked her whether she needed anything from the store, and she understood my question right away. Daisy wasn't impressed, though. She believed she had just gotten better at making out what people were saying. I, on the other hand, noticed something else. The sound on her TV wasn't as loud as before. Then, something amazing happened. I was writing an email when she said, "Your computer is humming. Maybe you should fix it." Did she really hear the subtle noise coming from my laptop? I barely noticed it. We didn't talk much about this episode because she didn't want to jinx it. But I could see her flinching now and then when our neighbor's dog was barking outside or birds were chirping at our window. After 10 days or so, Daisy began noticing even the softest sounds. The turning of a newspaper page, or my ugly corduroy pants that I should throw away. But it wasn't just that. Her vertigo and headaches were gone, and she could remember entire songs and playlists perfectly again. 16th of May is the day I'll never forget. We had just found out that Danny, the monster truck driver, had fully recovered from the coma. After thanking God for the good news and sending our prayers to him and his family, along with a big bunch of flowers, I decided to take Daisy to a piano concert in Philadelphia. I will never forget how she cried big tears of joy and relief all through the show. Not only was Daisy finally healthy, but she could hear every single note clearly. After the night ended, we threw both hearing aids in the Schuylkill River. It was so liberating. We had broken the curse of hearing loss. You bet we wanted to get the formula into the hands of as many people as possible. But one person wasn't proof it worked. If it worked for us, would it work for everyone? We needed to test it on more people who suffered from hearing loss and brain fog, or other hearing impairments, like tinnitus. People whose brain cells were screaming at that very moment, "Help!" They had to be dealing with hearing loss for at least 1 year. If they had tried all sorts of solutions with no success, the better. After posting ads online and in local newspapers asking for people who might be willing to test our one-of-a-kind formula, we had a total of 54 people ready to embark on our experiment. The results were greater than our wildest dreams. Without exception, and within a few weeks, all 54 volunteers reported dramatic improvements. They could hear almost every sound at full volume again, rediscovering the music they love so much, giving up their hearing aids, or canceling their cochlear implant surgeries. A lot of them said their memory and focus were stronger than ever, like their brain was recharged. Their bodies felt brand new too. Our subjects were experiencing bursts of energy and restful sleep. No anxiety or brain fog. No headaches. A few tinnitus sufferers even claimed that the loud ringing that was driving them insane was gone, which was the side effect we were most proud of. We received emails, messages, and phone calls. All our volunteers were overwhelmed and kept asking for more of our plant-based wonder capsules. It was clear as daylight that we had a mission. So, we created a clinically proven and all-natural supplement that will allow you to target the real root cause of hearing loss, regenerate your brain cells, and supercharge your hair cell roots in order to turn on the sound in your ears. We call it Sonovive, the only 100% natural blend that addresses the root cause of hearing loss, the ear-brain connection. We've sourced the purest, highest quality 5 plant extracts and 3 natural substances. For example, we use only properly prepared ginkgo biloba leaves coming from female trees grown in great mountain regions. This ginkgo biloba is allowed to grow in the wild for no less than 20 years before being collected. No chemicals of any sort ever touch it. In commerce, you will find only 5 to 7-year-old ginkgo biloba, often filled with herbicides, and you can't know for sure whether the leaves are coming from a female or a male tree. Every capsule is manufactured in the USA in our FDA-approved and GMP-certified facility under sterile, strict, and precise standards. We are regularly disinfecting the equipment used to process the ingredients and package our supplements. Sonovive capsules are non-GMO and safe. They do not contain any dangerous stimulants or toxins, and they are not habit-forming. And even though getting your hearing back with Sonovive is as easy as ABC, the formula is more powerful than any hearing aid or surgery on the planet, because it does not only help you hear everything loud and clear again, it also improves your health from head to toe without you having to lift a finger. 201,533 people have already transformed their lives and brains with Sonovive. People like Thomas Wallace, 60, from Springfield, Illinois. I was thinking about getting a cochlear implant when I came across your video. The prices they put on those devices are infuriating. How do they expect older people to have this kind of money, especially when they might also have other illnesses to treat? After counting all my savings, I barely had enough. But what if my wife would also need a pair at one point? So I decided to try your method. Thank God I did. I haven't been so happy in years. To hear this well again is nothing short of a miracle. I can finally sit down with my family at the dinner table and listen to my nephew's funny stories and talk with my children. Thank you so much, Sam. Jack B., 57, from Buffalo, New York. It was really depressing being the annoying Uncle Jack who never hears anything you tell him, exasperating everyone at family gatherings because I kept asking, "What did you say?" I also had mild tinnitus in one ear. Horrible. Now I'm still pinching myself when I wake up in the morning and I hear the birds chirping. Also, can you believe the ringing is almost gone and my memory is better? Doris S., 53, from Quincy, Massachusetts. My husband was getting ready to learn sign language. After years of struggling with hearing aids, he was almost deaf. When the doctor told him there was no hope, it was heartbreaking. We tried your method out of desperation, and it's been amazing ever since. I can't believe we are both listening to our favorite music, visiting friends, and chatting for hours again. Hope everyone finds out about this. All you have to do in order to achieve the same dramatic improvements in your hearing and memory is to start using it as soon as possible. The solution is much simpler than you think, and it's clear why it dominates any other option out there. First, no other method can even remotely promise you that it can fix hearing loss. Then, no other treatment has proven to really work. Sure, you could go to a doctor who will torture you with tons of useless tests or quickly dismiss you by putting it all on your old age. But what will you get from that? Probably a bill that costs up to $230. Or maybe a specialist will talk you into buying an expensive hearing aid. Annoying, painful, and embarrassing to wear. And good luck getting your insurance to cover the cost, around $6,000 for one piece of acceptable quality. Or maybe you're thinking of a cochlear implant. But are you really sure you want to spend between $50,000 and $100,000 on a surgery that not only isn't guaranteed to work, but also puts you at risk of losing your hearing completely? Of course, there are alternative remedies like fake herbal extracts, acupuncture, and even meditation that promises to help you unwind so you can focus on the sounds better. While they can't hurt, they surely aren't strong enough to be the cure-all you're wishing for. Actually, all of these are a waste of time, energy, and money, and you know it. They won't get you well in a million years. Unlike Sonovive, that can get the job done in less than a few months while keeping you safe from future brain disorders because it targets the actual scientifically proven root cause of hearing loss, the faulty brain cells, or, as we call them, the translators. You can understand why I wanted to set the value for Sonovive at a very high price. But even though Dr. J recommended I sell a 30-day supply of Sonovive for no less than $997, considering the 2 years of research, work, and tests that we've invested in it, even though my dear Daisy suggested $597, seeing how she got her life back and how she hears like a bat now, while our local herb growers would have asked for $397 just for the high quality of the ingredients. And even though many of the 201,533 people who got to experience Sonovive said they would gladly pay triple, this isn't about money for me. I'll never forget what I felt when I saw my wife being hit by a car. The blood dripping from her forehead, little Alice's screams, the tears in my daughter's eyes. Nor will I forget how I felt when I found out that the truck driver was in a coma. And I am sure that the moment when Daisy asked me to put her in a home will be burned into my memory forever. I never want anyone to feel as helpless as I did. That's why I'll never ask for $597 or $397 or half of that. I just want to cover the costs of the ingredients and keep this site running for as long as I can. Even though I'll have to charge $99 for one bottle of Sonovive soon, which is still way less than those annoying and painful hearing aids, and certainly a lot less than a cochlear implant, the fact that you gave me your trust and stayed with me all through this presentation means a lot. You can get a 30-day supply of Sonovive for a one-time fee of just $69. That's right, just $69. Before you order, one last thing. After thoroughly researching all the ingredients of Sonovive and running a lot of tests, I recommend you take this supplement for at least 90 days. On one hand, it's about giving your brain and body enough time to process and take full advantage of all the plant extracts and rediscover every single sound around you. This doesn't happen overnight, and anyone who is telling you that you will get permanent results in just a few days is lying. That's why we recommend you invest in more bottles today. You deserve it, and your health is the most precious thing anyone can have. On the other hand, there's one more crucial thing that you need to know. Missing just one day of Sonovive might compromise weeks of progress. Each day, from the second you wake up, you'll be hearing each and every sound better and better, until you no longer have to make any effort to figure out what's happening around you. But if you hit the stop button on the strong, nourishing ingredients of Sonovive for just one day, it might take weeks or even months to get them working at full capacity again. Until then, the translators, the brain cells that are responsible for processing sounds, might become weak again. So you might lose some of the benefits. Not going to lie to you. Plus, Sonovive is selling incredibly fast, and once it will be sold out, it will take us at least 6 to 9 months to produce a new batch. And to be honest, I don't think we will be able to produce it at this initial small price anymore. Not only because we're accepting only the purest ingredients, but also because getting those leaves and herbs is incredibly difficult during the pandemic. The ingredients are scarce and now cost at least 5 times more than when we first created Sonovive, even if we get them at the source. Then, we can never be sure when and if these ingredients get to our lab from all across the globe with today's trading restrictions. Plus, the price of gas is increasing day after day, and this also adds up to the total cost of the plants that we're using. Aside from that, there's one more thing you need to know. When an ingredient is clinically proven to work so well, like ginkgo biloba, big pharmaceutical companies buy up all the supplies of this plant and pretend it's for research purposes. They offer such a high price for it that it's creating an artificial shortage. Only a few farms grow ginkgo biloba female trees. Even fewer grow it without using chemicals. And most of them are filling their pockets right now thanks to pharma companies buying up all their crops. You might find it in bottles in a health food store, but those supplies aren't pure. Or they skimp on quality control to make up for their lost profits from the high ingredient cost. Of course, we're committed to supporting you every way that we can. So, we're going to let you order a batch of 3 bottles or 6 bottles for a huge discount. How does that sound? Take a look below. Once you order, you'll be taken to a secure checkout page. Just fill in your payment details using a credit card, debit card, or PayPal. Immediately after you fill in your information and confirm your order, your bottle of Sonovive will be shipped for free right to your doorstep. Just click below to select your package. Your order today is a one-time payment with no subscription or hidden charges. All you need to keep in mind is that Sonovive can be found only on this page and is not available for purchase anywhere else. This is your only chance to grab this exclusive formula. Once again, Sonovive is selling very fast, and once it will be sold out, it will take us a minimum of 3 to 6 months to restock on the pure, rare ingredients and produce another batch. In the meantime, we're getting threats from the hearing loss industry moguls, and risking your family's safety is not something that you can do for a long time. Make your choice below. If you're skeptical, I totally get you. You've tried a lot of methods, you've spent a lot of money, and nothing really worked. I am so confident that Sonovive works that I'm going to give you our ironclad 60-day money-back guarantee. If you don't experience any dramatic improvement, or you're not content for any reason whatsoever, we will issue a full refund, no questions asked. All you need to do is contact us within the first 60 days from your purchase. It doesn't matter if you used up the entire bottle, we will still give you your money back. This means you have 2 whole months to decide if Sonovive is for you or not. No hidden fees or subscriptions. Just a safe and secure, one-time, simple. Choose the package you want below. Listen, when you think about it, you really only have 2 choices ahead of you right now. Option 1. Stop following this presentation and leave this page. Do nothing. Keep going the way you are now, feeling left out, wondering how you will manage if your hearing gets worse. Sick and tired of asking everyone around to repeat themselves and fearing they'll eventually get tired of talking to you. Always trapped in a cycle of desperation, anxiety, and loneliness. Option 2. Risk nothing at all today. Grab Sonovive right now, and you'll be surprised at how well it works and how easy your life can be. So just click below to make your choice. Enter your payment details on our secure order form and place the order now. We'll immediately ship your bottles directly to your home. And every order comes with free shipping, no matter where you live. I can't wait for you to experience every single benefit that Sonovive has to offer. Still here? Great! I wanted to take a second and answer the most common questions I get about Sonovive. I just want to make sure you feel 100% comfortable with your decision to order today. Question 1. How do I know Sonovive will work for me? Many scientists believe that hearing loss happens when hair cells, little ear receptors that grab noises, start dying. However, experts have uncovered a new type of brain cells responsible for receiving and processing these sounds, also called the translators. When these brain cells are weak, we start experiencing hearing loss problems. This could mean that our ear hair cells don't really die. Instead, they lose the connection to the brain cells that are responsible for extracting the meaning out of the sounds we hear. By addressing the root cause of hearing loss, Sonovive empowers and strengthens the link between hair cells and brain cells. Remember, all the ingredients address both the sender and the receiver of sound and are backed by hundreds of clinical studies. They combine powerful, pure plants with modern medicine and technology, and they've helped hundreds of thousands of people around the world already. My wife and I have personally seen how much they can help even after years of hearing problems. Question 2. Is Sonovive safe? Sonovive has been designed for all ages and medical conditions in order to naturally support your auditory system. Sonovive has high-quality natural ingredients manufactured in an FDA-approved facility under sterile, strict, and precise standards. Each of the ingredients that goes into Sonovive is tested for purity and to ensure against toxins and contaminants. As always, if you currently have a medical condition or you're taking other prescription medication, we advise you to show a bottle of this supplement to your doctor before you take it, just to put your mind at ease. Question 3. Can you tell me about the guarantee again? The more results we see, the stronger we believe Sonovive has the power to completely regenerate and connect hair cells and brain cells. It's true, though, that nothing works for 100% of the people who try it, as each body works in its own way. That's why every bottle of Sonovive comes with an ironclad 60-day money-back guarantee. If, for any reason, you aren't fully satisfied with the results, you can just return what you haven't used for a full, no questions asked refund. Question 4. How long will this supplement be available to the public? Well, I'm not really sure, but history has shown us that the hearing loss industry is not afraid to spend millions of dollars in legal fees to remove something that threatens its very existence. If you think about it, that makes sense. Wouldn't you spend $1 million in lawyer costs to protect the $8 billion per year you make? Question 5. How many bottles should I order? We recommend ordering the largest amount so you can stock up. Remember, when an ingredient is clinically proven to work, like ginkgo biloba or St. John's wort, pharma usually buy up all the supplies to protect their sales. Moreover, Sonovive is selling very fast. It can take up to 9 months before we can resupply. Ordering the largest amount is also the best deal for you. We've set it up so you can save more than 30% over the one bottle option. Plus, our no questions asked money-back guarantee is valid no matter how many bottles you order. So there's no risk in stocking up. So all you have to do today is click below, fill in your payment details on our secure order form, and submit your order. I can't wait to hear your success story.